Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 7th August. The news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 12. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, subsidized rail losses, PMO. So the Prime Minister's office has asked the Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Finance to fund the losses incurred by Indian Railways in operating non-profitable trains on strategic lines and in backward areas. So these should be done because after the merger of budgets, this has been discontinued. So there was this merger of budgets which took place, which you should know about. The details are provided as such. We'll look at it. So here you can see this is regarding the separate railway budget. So it started off since 1925-26 during the British rule that a separate railway budget was presented. So this was ensured so that the railways can spend according to its real needs and modernize following the First World War. So that was the objective, and then for the next 90 years we have seen that railways was the only government department which presented a separate budget. Otherwise we had a general budget. But since this financial year 2017-18, a merged budget, a single budget was presented, merging even the railway budget. So here you can see. So earlier even the railway budget was having a huge, amount by itself. But now it is 1/10 of the total budget, general budget as such. So there's no rationale behind having a separate railway budget anymore. So that is where this decision was taken. The details as such are provided here. So here is the details about various departments, ministries as such, and the central plan outlay for these major ministries. So even road transport, highways, almost little less than railways. So there are other entities too. They don't have a separate budget. So there is no rationale regarding having a separate budget for railways. But earlier railways had to be developed as an independent entity, and it had a huge receipts and expenditure by itself independently. Now here, what will be the changes? The changes for railways would be that it would become more agile, more efficient, and unburdened by ministerial largesses. It will not be, because generally when we have a railway budget as a separate budget announced, and generally the trend is that new trains are announced just for appeasement of the masses. So that would not be required anymore. And what would not change, it says that railways borrowings are still there, and they are already part of the central borrowing. So there will be no expansion of the government's balance sheet. The railways anyway was having borrowing, so that part is there. Questions which are there and which are creating trouble is regarding the subsidy. So there is a social burden which is taken by Ministry of Railways. This is around 32,000 crore social burden, which we were talking about presently. Non-profitable trains, routes which are non-profitable but still run by Ministry of Railways because they are in strategic locations, say near the borders or something, and also because they are in backward regions. So they provide connectivity, a social cause fulfilled. So will the government continue to provide for this subsidy is the question, unanswered question, which is still there, and PMO is directing the Ministry of Finance to look into this. And another question is regarding the 7th pay commission's requirement. So railway staff, railways as we know is the largest employer in the country. So this is around 28,000 to 30,000 crore of amount which will have to be provided for because of for implementing 7th pay commission's recommendations, increase in salary of public employees. So this is also a question mark. So this is the entire issue now. So since the merger has taken place, the Finance Ministry has argued that the capital at charge, so the capital investment which the government was providing to Ministry of Railways. So on this capital which was invested in the railways, provided to the railways, a dividend had to be paid by the railways to the government. Because railways is a separate entity, general budget is a separate entity taken care of by Ministry of Finance. So Finance Ministry is providing this, allocating this amount, capital at charge, to Railway Ministry. So it had to pay a dividend. Means annual dividends had to be paid by Ministry of Railways to the Ministry of Finance. So that arrangement was there because the two budgets are separate. But now since the budget has been merged, so this capital at charge being provided by the Ministry of Finance, whatever allocation is done by Ministry of Finance, that would not be having, the Ministry of Railways would not be having to pay a dividend on that. So this idea has now been wiped off. So this issue will not be there anymore. So that is why now the subsidy amount as such has to be provided by the government too, is the argument which PMO is putting forth. that if Ministry of Railways is undergoing losses because of having these non-profitable trains on strategic lines and backward areas, and it's the Ministry of Finance who has the responsibility to provide for this. So the Ministry of Finance is arguing, since capital at charge is wiped off, you take care of the subsidy amount now. We are not going to ask you any dividend. But then capital at charge was for the functioning of the railway. So whatever is the requirement for the functioning of the railways has to be provided by Ministry of Finance. That is why PMO, and not only the PMO but also the committees of Parliament, like Standing Committee on Railways, even the Estimates Committee, which is headed by BJP veteran only Mr. Murli Manohar Joshi, they have also said in their reports that railways should get back the money invested in loss-making lines of national importance. So this is the whole issue. Since merger of budget, so how would this subsidy payment be taken care of? So this is there because when the budgets were separate, this subsidy payment was provided for by Ministry of Finance separately. So this issue is there. Plus another issue which is there was also regarding dividend. So since it is said, we just stated that as capital at charge is not provided, is to be wiped off. So of course there is no question of dividend to be paid. That was the idea. But then later, Ministry of Finance had, this is another issue. It had asked, after the merger, it has asked Railway Ministry to pay dividend from its PSUs. So Ministry of Railways has 14 PSUs functioning under it. So all PSUs pay dividend to the government. So like that, it says that Railway Ministry's PSUs also have to pay dividend. The railway as a whole does not have to pay dividend. So dividend annually, it usually accounted for when the budgets were separate. The Railway Ministry had to pay rupees 9,000 crore dividend to Ministry of Finance, and it found this very difficult and it was unviable. So that was also a rationale behind merger of the two budgets, because capital at charge would be wiped. So no question of dividend as such. So this was there, but now it is asking that at least the PSUs have to pay dividend, and these are the PSUs, top 3 PSUs, and the dividend amount which is being demanded by Ministry of Finance post merger from these PSUs, which is of around 850 crores. So saying this dividend has to come to us. So this also the Ministry of Railways resisted and said that this will affect our earnings, and financial autonomy was to be assured to Ministry of Railways post merger. So this is of course going to attack our financial autonomy. So that was also an argument by Ministry of Railways. So these are the concerns here post merger. Then the next news item is revealed 4,000-year-old bone jewels. So this is regarding jewelry, ancient jewelry being discovered, and these are made of bones. So these have been discovered in Telangana and they date back to around 4,000 years. So these have been sent to the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology in Hyderabad so that it would be known from which animal they come. So these are the bone ornaments. You can see they are these rhombus shaped ornaments with circles indented, and there's a holes in the center, a circular hole in the center. So these are said to be used as jewelry. So this is a discovery which has taken place from this site in Telangana. This is a hamlet of Narmetta in Telangana. It's an agricultural village on the outskirts of Hyderabad. So this jewelry has been found also from this region in Telangana. Another finding was earlier. This is a finding earlier in 2017. Anthropomorphic menhir. So this is also first anthropomorphic menhir. So menhir is actually an upright stone which is said to have human traits, and they are worshipped as such even today by many tribals as such, and they are found in multiple locations in South India. So this is a megalithic site as such from which this is a menhir. So such menhirs have also been found in this region. This is a menhir from Mizoram. Then next is, after Supreme Court order, focus on chemicals in firecrackers. So we saw Supreme Court had put forth an order just in the end July 2017, just few days back on 31st July, that 5 chemicals should not be used in manufacture of firecrackers to prevent air pollution. So any firecracker in the country should not have these 5 chemicals. And these 5 chemicals were antimony, lithium, mercury, arsenic and lead. But the manufacturers of firecrackers, which are majorly concentrated in Sivakasi in Tamil Nadu in India, they have stated that these 5 chemicals are not used generally in firecrackers. The chemicals which they use, they say, are sulfur, aluminium powder, charcoal, which is used as fuel, and potassium nitrate and barium nitrate. So these are the 5 chemicals which are used, is the argument. Although the another chemical which has been raised as a question mark by Supreme Court, on which it will have a ruling done, is on strontium. So the strontium and its compounds, they should also not be used. That would be decided, that whether they should be used or not, that would be decided by the Supreme Court when the case comes up further hearing on August 23. So this is there. We have already discussed this in July. Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization has been asked by the Supreme Court that it should take the responsibility and ensure compliance in the country of this order of the Supreme Court, and especially in Sivakasi, because 90% of the firecrackers produced in the country are in factories in Sivakasi. So this is the news, and the further details about all these elements used and what are the uses. So the banned elements, the 5 banned elements, you can see antimony, this is being shown here. So this is used in production of heads of safety matches, also ammunition, explosives, and also in fireworks. But the adverse effect of antimony is that inhalation of this antimony trioxide is considered harmful, and it is also a carcinogen. Carcinogen means it can cause cancer. Then second chemical banned by Supreme Court is mercury. So mercury is also used as a primary explosive, as a compound, and it is extremely sensitive to friction, heat, shock. So that is why it is mainly used in explosives as a trigger. So this, because of it's been highly explosive, that is why sensitive to friction, that's why it is banned. Then third is arsenic. So arsenic is also generally non-combustible, but in certain compounds it is highly explosive and it's a toxic gas. So this is the third chemical banned. Lead, most common primary explosive which is used and is found in most high-graded explosives, but it is also said to be harmful to humans. And finally, lithium has been banned. So this is also a highly volatile element, and it is also considered to be harmful to humans. So these cause air pollution and they need to be eliminated. So that's why they cannot be used in manufacture of firecrackers. The firecrackers as such, what chemicals are used to provide colors to firecrackers are shown here. You can see sodium salts, copper salts. Sodium gives yellow color, copper gives blue color, barium salts give green color, and purple is a combination of copper and strontium compound. So these purple firecrackers have strontium. So this is also a question mark whether strontium should be used or not. The burning of metals like magnesium, aluminium, and titanium bring out white color. Orange is from calcium salts, and red again from strontium salts. So this is there. Then the next news item is Gadkari reaches out to Iran. So this is regarding the Minister of Road Transport, Minister Nitin Gadkari, who is in Iran, and he went to Iran for the swearing-in ceremony of Iranian president, who got another term. So this is Mr. Hassan Rouhani. So he has been elected as the president again. So for his swearing-in ceremony, he was there, and Iran committed to the Chabahar port project as such, reiterated their commitment on this. So this Chabahar port project is an important deal which is being signed as a trilateral agreement between India, Iran, and Afghanistan. And India and Afghanistan have already ratified this Chabahar trilateral deal, but Iran has not yet done that because of its internal process not completed. Apart from this, another issue, what is the significance of Chabahar port, we'll see in a little while. Apart from this, another is regarding the Farzad B gas field. So this is a gas field in Iran which India's OVL had struck and wants to bid for its development as well. But now Iran is asking for a better deal as such, and this deal has not been finalized, while Russian company Gazprom was also brought forth by Iran, an MOU signed with it. So this has created trouble in this relation also on this aspect about Farzad B gas field. So this is there. Apart from this, the third issue is regarding oil import. India has slashed down its oil import from Iran by almost 20% because of this Farzad B gas field development bid not being finalized. Because now, since India and Iran relations are going down, because the JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the Iran nuclear deal which has been signed, has resulted in restrictions, sanctions on Iran being removed, and that's why Iran wants a better deal now. Although US is again putting pressure on Iran, that is another matter. So this is also there, and also we imported oil for the first time from USA. So all these are the constraints in the relation, or the strains in the relation between India and Iran. We imported oil from USA for the first time. This we discussed few days back. The oil marketing companies have initiated this process, and also we have increased the oil intake from other countries like Iraq and Saudi Arabia. So this is one issue between India and Iran about oil import. Another issue is regarding Farzadbi gas field, and the third issue is regarding Chabahar. What is this Chabahar port and its importance? We'll just look at it. So here you can see this is the Chabahar port, and this is the Gwadar port in Pakistan, which China is developing. So it's very close, and this will facilitate our transit bypassing Pakistan into Afghanistan and further into Central Asia. It is also an oil hub. So this is the whole deal. So Chabahar port project is significant for India, but it is still not completed. So this, you can see the advantages are shown here. It's a cost cutter. So it will be, the port will be used to ship crude oil and urea, greatly reducing India's transportation costs. Afghan connection would be provided and further into the Central Asian region. Even North-South transport corridor, which is being planned in this region, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Central Asian countries, this would also be linked through this. So this is the idea. The next is Swiss happy with India's data security. So India, Switzerland had signed this agreement. You can see had agreed on signing this agreement of automatic exchange of information. So this automatic exchange of information would take place between India and Switzerland, means Indian government will get the details of all Indians with Swiss accounts. But this information flow would start from September 2019, and only from 2018 onwards the information would be shared. So Indian money in Swiss banks as such has been reducing drastically. If you look at it, this had been pointed out by Prime Minister too. So since this Swiss secrecy will be ending, so of course people who have, Indians who have their accounts in Swiss banks, they are removing their money from there. But this transparency would be ensured is a fact. So here these are the details regarding Switzerland's view on India's data security and confidentiality laws. It says that these are adequate, as has also been highlighted by US Tax Authority, the Indian Internal Revenue Services also. So India provides adequate data protection for mutual exchange of tax information. So data protection would be ensured by the country. So this information would be shared. Automatic exchange of information would be started by Switzerland. So this is there. Then next is Jaguar jets still flying without autopilot. So this is a CAG report on Jaguars. So these frontline fighters of Indian Air Force, they are still flying without autopilot, is an issue raised by CAG apart from other aspects too. So it says that even after 20 years, since 1997, Indian Air Force had planned that autopilots would be provided to the Jaguar aircraft, but it has not been done. And there have been 3 Jaguar aircrafts as such which Indian Air Force has lost, and even 1 pilot life which has been lost since April 2008 due to pilot disorientation and human error. So this is there, and this could be eliminated and greatly reduced if autopilots are in place. So that is why its efficiency, pilots' workload reduces, safety of the aircraft increases, and also the aircraft accidents will reduce. So this has not been done is the point raised. Also it says that another 4 Jaguar aircrafts losses are under investigation. That what were the reasons for these losses are not known. So the autopilot was being planned for all the 108 Jaguar aircraft fighter lines, but then it was also decided that only 35 autopilots would be brought. So requirement is of 108, but only 35 autopilots were contracted for in 1999. So this, the reason given was resource crunch. That is not enough money. So the 35 autopilots were for 37.42 crores, and they have been delivered between 2006 and 2008, but out of these only 18 could be integrated. So only 18 have been integrated, and also these are functioning suboptimally. So there are malfunctioning of their vital components, that is the autopilot electronic unit. So this is the status, that requirement is not fulfilled, and as many as has been called for, they are also working suboptimally. They have also not been integrated as such, and those which are integrated are suboptimally functioning. So this is the status presently. So we are having 117 Jaguars as of now, but autopilots have not. The second deal, initiation of a deal has taken place, but none have been procured yet. This is all highlighted in this CAG report. That the status of Jaguar fleets. Also, the Indian Air Force is undertaking modernization of all these Jaguar fleets so that they can go on flying for another 2 decades, and they can carry nuclear weapons as well. So new avionics, new sensors, a major modernization is planned. But this autopilot has still not been integrated, is a major issue raised by. The next is ATM expansion slows due to note ban. So this is regarding ATMs, automated teller machines. These have not been expanded by banks because of demonetization majorly. So November 2016, when demonetization took place, the cash crunch which was seen has resulted in many, especially outside the branch, ATMs being shut. They have reduced drastically, and many on the branch ATMs, within the branch ATMs have increased. So this is a point put forth, and it is said also this is because of the digital push by the government too. So use of cash has been restricted. So this is what is being seen, that ATMs are being reduced. So this is the whole number of ATMs, facts and figures, on-site, off-site, shown as the as the years progress. 14, 15, 16 and 17. So here you can see from 2016 to 2017, if you see on-site and off-site ATMs. So on-site have increased a little, but off-site have reduced. So this is good. The next is high oil taxes curbed consumption investment. So this is actually the Niti Aayog, the newly appointed Niti Aayog Vice Chairman, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, giving his statements. We saw that Mr. Arvind Panagaria wanted to quit, and he has resigned. So the new Vice Chairman, which has been appointed by the Prime Minister, is Mr. Rajiv Kumar, and he has given his statements. He says that centre's reliance on higher taxation of petroleum products to mop up revenue has affected the consumption, increase in consumption and investment in petroleum sector. So you know that global oil prices reduced drastically as such in the last 18 months. If you look at it, then oil prices have gone down from $100 per barrel to $40. But then the domestic prices of petrol, though they have been delinked, so subsidies have been eliminated as such. The government is taking steps towards that. So elimination of subsidies has taken place. It is linked to market prices. So domestic prices of petrol have declined by only ₹10 per litre. So of course, this is not commensurate with global oil prices. When the delinking has taken place, subsidies are eliminated, and why domestic prices have not reduced drastically. The reason for this is that the government raised taxes on petroleum products. You know, petroleum is delinked from GST too, because government has huge amount of taxes, and it's a major source of income for states also. So here the taxes have increased. So that means if there is if the prices have to come down, the prices have not been allowed to come down because that a commensurate amount has been taken up as taxes. And why has this been done? Because there is a huge amount of loss which oil marketing companies and upstream, downstream, these oil companies have been facing trouble because of the subsidy, the huge subsidy burden. The earlier burden will be taken care of presently by increasing taxes. So this was the idea. So though it is dealing, but present global oil prices benefit is not passed on to consumers in the country. And this is being criticized by the present Niti Aayog Vice Chairman, saying that if this would have been passed on to consumers, then it would have resulted in further investment taking place in petroleum sector and also consumption increase. So this, he says, has restrained consumption as well as investment demand in the process. Also, another point which he is making apart from this is that the Prime Minister has to put in all his economic priorities on and focus on maximum employment creation, because this is the key. This will automatically result in GDP growth, and to the extent as expected that an average of 7 to 8% growth in the next 3 decades can be ensured. As such, a double-digit growth of GDP for the next decade can also be ensured automatically if this aspect is highlighted, maximum employment creation. This is another statement which he makes. Apart from that, the third thing which he talks of is that the ministers and the government should not, the spokespersons in the ruling coalition, he says, should stop talking of India's emergence as the fastest growing economy to the world. as the fastest growing economy of the world. So this he says that the truth is that production and employment in major sectors are declining or stagnating. Rural distress is also increasing, and if such fastest growing economic talks takes place, then this shows a huge disconnect between the ground situation and the people in power. So this talk should be stopped now because it can rebound badly. This is a warning which he brings forth also. He says that you have to be emphatic and aware of the real concerns of the people as well. So such are the statements coming from Niti Aayog Vice Chairman, the new appointee as such, Mr. Rajiv Kumar. Then the next news item is China's RCEP push wheels grand plan. So you know about RCEP, we have been discussing it for last few months now. This is the mega FTA which is being negotiated between 16 Asia Pacific nations including India and China. So these are 10 Asian members and 6 other members who are having FTA with Asia. And India is also having FTA with Japan and South Korea, but with Australia and New Zealand, we are actually having an FTA negotiated. It's only China with whom we don't have an FTA presently, and this RCEP in a guise is also a deal between India and China, where the two largest economies are together. So here you can see amongst the 16 nations, if you look, which are the two largest economies in this RCEP actually. So if the total GDP which RCEP represents is about 40% of global GDP, about half the world's population. So this is said to be the biggest trade deal so far in the world once it is finalized, once it comes into effect. So of course then there are constraints. The pressure which is put on India is reducing the tariffs as such, because if you look at most favored nation, tariff means this is a tariff, general tariff which India imposes on countries, on any nation. Most favored nation is any nation. All nations should be most favored nations according to WTO. So MFN, the tariff as such is a general tariff which the country demands. So India has the highest average MFN tariff. So of course these countries are demanding that this should be reduced. So this is one aspect. Apart from that, India wants to emphasize on services sector, that the other countries should open up their services sector so that short-term, services market access can be increased. So the services means short-term visa facilities can be provided as such for professionals from India. So this is how the deal is being negotiated, and China and India have a huge trade deficit, and this trade deficit is widening over the years. So of course China puts restrictions, tariff and non-tariff barriers as such, especially the non-tariff barriers, which cause a trouble to India's exports, and our trade deficit is widening. So this is a huge concern for India as such, you can see. Sorry for that. So this is the case that China's trade deficit has widened from $1.1 billion in 2003 to $52.7 billion in 2015-16, because India's exports are not increasing to the same extent because of China's non-tariff barriers. So it is shown here to also India's trade deficit as such with China and with rest of the world. So the details you can see as the years are progressing, the major trade deficit is with China, is increasing drastically. It has risen 13 times in 10 years. You can see import exports were 6.8 and 8.3, 6.8 and 10.9 in 2005-6. Exports were $6.8 billion and $10.9 billion. So this much was the trade deficit, around $4 billion approximately. But now it has increased significantly. So this is a huge concern for India. So of course we need to work on this too. Keeping this into consideration, we can go ahead and negotiate on RCEP. So RCEP negotiations, as we see, are going on, but they are closed doors negotiations, and finally the details would come forth. The next is debt-laden SR's oil asset sale may only aid promoters. So this is regarding SR Group. So it has various companies under it, SR Oil, SR Steel, and they have been presently been suffering because of the huge borrowings which they had undertaken, but have gone into losses because of the global financial crisis and the dip in the economy generally. And we are seeing that SR Oil had initiated a deal and has signed this deal with Russian company, the government company of Russia, Rosneft. So it has signed a deal to sell SR Oil. So the Ruya brothers, who are the promoters of this SR Group, they are reducing their stake here drastically. So this bid has to be approved by the government of India, and this final nod from the center is still being awaited. And SR Steel has been referred to the National Company Law Tribunal under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So, of course, SR Steel, how would it be benefiting because of SR Oil's sell-off is another question, because SR Group, whether it decides to make a provision for these borrowings also because of the benefit it would get, the amount which would get from this sale is a question too. So here the details are also provided regarding SR Rosneft deal. So it's $12.9 billion deal. You can see the share of Rosneft would go to 49%. Trafigura and others would have 49%, and Ruyas would bring down their stake to 2%. So this is the deal as such, which has been concluded. So would help, it says this would help SR's group debt of around 86,400 crores to cut down by 50%. So this is regarding SR Group companies to SR Oil, Steel, Shipping, each of their, see, you can see the borrowings and the net profits. Of course, many are in losses also. So almost significant losses are also there. So this is the whole issue. SR Oil had also approached Gujarat High Court actually for putting a stay on this reference to the NCLT, but it was refused release. So the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code provisions would also apply to it now, and this deal's further future is also at stake because center's approval is pending. And this is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code looking into 12 major bankruptcy cases. So Bhushan Steel, SR Steel comes here. You can see the huge amount of loan which they have undertaken. This is 37,283 crores. SR Steel's loan. Total debt burden. Then the next news item is Apple risks overstaying its welcome in China. So this is regarding Apple, the iPhone maker. So it has been a huge success in China despite others like Facebook and Uber being driven out by Chinese policies. And Apple has benefited, but now it seems that it is overstaying because China will again have its policies coming up against it, because Apple has announced now that it would have its iCloud services, local data centers would be established for it. But there are other companies of China which are providing it competition like Alibaba, Tencent and Baidu. So this is the issue being raised here, that how would it be able to dominate in this cloud storage sector where already there are these Chinese companies in place, and China has its policy where it favors homegrown champions over foreign businesses for economic as well as national security reasons. So this is a point raised here. Then next is the last news item. Japan marks 72 years of Hiroshima atomic bomb. So this is regarding Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombing. It's been 72 years. The first nuclear attack in the world took place on Hiroshima. So this Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombing, which took place in August of 1945. This was said to be required, and this was done by USA to end the Second World War. Because after this, Japan announced its surrender on 15th August 1945 after Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. So this 15th August is the date which Lord Mountbatten also selected for India's independence because of this significance that Japan at that time, he was also here, had surrendered in the World War. He was also a commander. So this is regarding the Japan's 72 years since it's been the only country which has faced and suffered because of an atomic attack. So this is also a fact. And there is another point which is there of significance presently, the UN Nuclear Weapons Treaty ban. So this in July 2017 has been signed by various countries, but all the nuclear weapon states, all states which have nuclear, which possess nuclear weapons, including India, there are 9 countries in the world which have nuclear weapons. They have not signed this treaty, and one has also been, has voted against this treaty. That is Netherlands. All NATO members except Netherlands did not vote for this treaty, and Netherlands voted against it. So, of course, what does it provide for? It provides for that countries which do not have nuclear weapons should not try to acquire or stockpile nuclear weapons, and countries which have nuclear weapons should gradually eliminate them. So, this is the requirement of the treaty, and this will be applicable only to those countries which are ratifying the treaty. And for the treaty to come into effect, at least 50 countries should ratify. So presently the signing has taken place, ratification has not taken place as such. So this is the fact. None of the 9 countries that possess nuclear weapons took part in negotiations or voted on the treaty. And Japan, for this matter, it is stated that it sided in with these nuclear weapon countries. So this is there. Barack Obama, another fact is that Barack Obama was the first US president in power who visited Hiroshima in May 2016 and paid a moving tribute to the victims of this devastating bomb attack. So this attack of Hiroshima and Nagasaki had resulted in 140,000 people dying in Hiroshima and 74,000 people dying in Nagasaki, and post that too many people succumbed to injuries and radiation related illnesses even weeks, months and years after the attack. So this is there, and you can see the fact also. This is shown regarding Hiroshima atomic bomb. It was given the code name Little Boy. It was this 13 kiloton TNT bomb, nuclear bomb, and the Nagasaki was codenamed Fat Man. And if you look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, Little Boy and Fat Man, and today's nuclear weapons, you can see this was the 15 and 21 kilotons bombs which were thrown on Japan, and these are the present bombs which are much more heavier and having a huge capacity to cause unimaginable destruction. So these nuclear weapons need to be eliminated. Biological weapons have been banned in 1972. Chemical weapons, landmines, cluster bombs, all have been banned, but nuclear weapons have not been banned as of yet. This is the nuclear arsenal in the country. The nations which have nuclear weapons, you can see these are the 9 nations, and their nuclear weapons arsenal is also shown. And countries which have nuclear alliances, these are also shown in yellow. And nations which are hosting nuclear weapons, these are also shown here. So this is that. So these are the news items. Thank you.